Town Council meeting for July 16th, 2018. And I'd like to have a moment of silent meditation for the Weymouth police officer, Michael Chesney, who was killed over the weekend. Thank you. Thank you. There's a need for executive session to discuss the litigation regarding Woods subdivision because an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the position of the town with the intent to go back into open session right afterwards. I need a roll call.
You need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, motion?
I move that we move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you all. And so to Town Council meeting for July 16th, 2018. Thanks for your patience. We had an executive session that's very important in town. So next on the agenda, we have public participation, and we have a full house. Nice to see everyone's actively involved with the town. I want to say a couple words first before anything gets going, but I'll give you some rules and guidelines for what we have coming up. So we have 6 people signed in for public participation, which equals about 2 minutes each for your time to talk, okay? So I want to say a couple things first. I think most of you probably are here for the kiosk, is my guess. Just raise your hand if you're here for the kiosk. Just give me an idea. Okay, what a guess. I don't do well in lotteries, but I'm pretty good with this. Okay, so the 6 folks, after I say a few words, I want to just give you a chance to say your piece. We can't interact with you. Those are the ground rules. So you're just speaking to the camera, speaking to the town, speaking to each other. And later we'll have a discussion with the town council. So you'll have your time to say whatever you want. But again, keep with the 2 minutes just for the rest of the things we have to do tonight. Okay? Okay, so kiosks. All of the town council, Main Streets, Wayfinding and Branding Committee, every merchant, every committee and nonprofit in town loves Lake Quannapowitt. It's a great way to start, right? The Main Streets organization has been spearheading a $100,000 grant they obtained to beautify Wakefield and draw walkers from the lake to the businesses in Wakefield for 17 months. Will the kiosks work? We don't know. We hope so. We don't know yet. It's worth trying some new things. Yes, it is. I'm sorry?
Really hear you.
You can't hear me? Okay. Let me start with the second paragraph. So the Main Streets organization has been spearheading a $100,000 grant they obtained to beautify Wakefield and draw walkers from the lake to the businesses in Wakefield for the past 17 months. Will the kiosks work? We don't know yet. Is it worth trying some new things? Yes, it is. If it does not work, we can remove them. They are mobile. If we don't try, we're not doing our jobs for Wakefield. Everyone on the town council and before the town council and the board of selectmen have been trying to make Wakefield a better place to live and work in. Nothing is an easy road to go down. There are always going to be differing opinions about what is a great idea for one group and what is a poor choice for another. The competition from Amazon, Marketplace, and all the malls in our area is fierce. I think we all can admit that. There are always going to be differing opinions about what is going to work, what's not going to work. Do we advertise enough? Communicate the kiosks in town enough? We can never communicate enough. We are trying and are getting better. The current Wayfinding and Branding Committee has 15 groups representing it in the town. The idea was to have many groups be represented for varying opinions to reflect alternative ideas on advertising, like the kiosks. FOLQ and others in town are wonderful and thoughtful groups. Maybe other groups now should have a representative on the main streets. All groups, committees, and nonprofits don't know what each other is working on at all times. We can try and work better together from this point on, but with the communication burden rests with all of us, not just one group or another. Over the next 3 weeks, in order to meet the deadline time frame for the grant, let's get your ideas on where the kiosk at Lake Ave and Church Street would be a better fit for the town. Keeping in mind, these are important parts right here. The town needs to own the location. We can't just put it wherever we want. The town needs to have electric capability at the location, which Rick Stinson will be able to help us with. The town needs to have it connected to the walkway around the lake. That's the whole part. We can't have it in front of the library if we want to have people drawn from the lake. Just doesn't make sense. The town needs to consult with the DPW about the location for other reasons besides electrical as well, plowing, etc. The town needs to have Main Streets and their subcommittee have the time to meet and assess the alternative location. The $100,000 grant was obtained with great effort by all its members, and that should be applauded. They're a great group of volunteers. Everyone knows them or should know them now. We cannot jeopardize the grant. It is time sensitive. If they do not proceed with these kiosks shortly, they will lose the grant, and they will never be allowed to get another grant from this organization again. if they fail in this process for that allotted time frame. We all need to work more closely together in the future. It's one team represented by many groups and many volunteers who all strive for the same thing, which is to make Wakefield a better place to live and work in. We are a proud community that needs to communicate more in the future, knowing we are all residents here because we love the town, and its second greatest asset is Lake Quannapowitt. The first asset is great citizens, many of which are here tonight. Let's work together in a positive direction from this point on. We can make Wakefield an even better place to live together. Just to set kind of the tone. So again, let me go through the public participation. First, I'd like to welcome Bill Conley. I've seen you before. Your tennis is pretty good. But Bill, if you can state your name and address, and Steve's going to hit the clocks just so we keep with a 2-minute guideline.
Sitting here, I take it. And, my name is Bill
welcome.
Conley. I'm the president of the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt. Thank you for your remarks, Chairman May, and thank you to the councilors for inviting us in tonight and allowing this. Your remarks were helpful, Peter. I appreciate the tone. I think some of what we're going to say mirror what you're saying. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. These are prepared remarks. And discuss the issue of kiosk placement. I am speaking tonight on behalf of and at the request of the Board of Directors of our organization and only that organization, Friends of Lake Quannapowitt. FOLQ is asking Town Council tonight to delay the installation of the kiosk intended to be installed on a cement pad on the lower common near the corner of Church Street and Lake Avenue. This request does not discredit in any way the work of the Wakefield Main Streets Committee. In fact, they ought to be credited for their efforts in tackling the difficult issue of improving the downtown. Accepting 2020 hindsight, no one could have predicted that between the Main Streets organization and the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt, there would be an intersection of interest to both, namely the placement of the common kiosk. The reason for this request of delay is to allow ample time to better understand, better discuss, and actively solicit wider input on this issue. It represents the feelings of our membership and our role as an organization and speaks to the core of our mission of preserving, protecting, and improving the lake environment. We are open and available to help work quickly and diligently toward a solution not only to this kiosk placement, but also with possible future similar efforts in the lake area. Our organization's very beginning, as many remember, almost 30 years ago, was an open space use issue. Think Lonnie Island. In the Spalding-Connolly Park areas. Fast forward to today. There are plans being drawn up for our organization to make significant capital improvements at no cost to taxpayers to Spalding-Connolly parks. It seems inconsistent and illogical to our organization to be planning improvements at one end of the lake and to be surprised at the other. I don't have to remind anyone here how important remaining open space is in Wakefield, especially around the lake, and the historical significance of the common. The very word common, shared, mutual, public, collective, suggests that we need a wider review in matters like this. Our organization has received many comments from thoughtful townspeople who value and are concerned about the lake area. In the interest of time, I won't paraphrase them to you tonight, respecting your request, but they do collectively represent significant concerns over this installation and the possibility of establishing bad precedent. We have a responsibility to our many members and contributors who fund and support us and hold the lake area in their warmest memories to do our very best in our role. Again, thank you for the time tonight. Please give every possible consideration to our request for installation delay. Respectfully, the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have, I think it's Cheryl Scott? Cheryl Webb Scott? Okay. Welcome. Just state your name and address and.
I'm Cheryl Webb Scott, 25 Avon Street. I'm here representing the Wakefield Center Neighborhood Association. We are a 40-year-old organization that has concentrated on working on the Rockery, the Upper and the Lower Common. We put thousands and thousands of dollars into those projects, and we're proud of them, and we love the fact that everyone appreciates them and enjoys them, which is the most important thing. Our concern, I'm sure it's the same one that most of the people here have, is that this is the jewel. This is the treasure that we have, that every other community wishes they had. And it's hosted so many remarkable things. Young children playing all kinds of sporting events. It's never not being used. It's always being enjoyed. Our concern is not only the safety concern of a sign of this size, this is very large, and it is a dangerous corner. We've all seen accidents there. We've seen pedestrians screaming at cars to stop. So we are concerned about that. But our main concern is that it doesn't belong there. This is a part of Wakefield that is enjoyed by everyone, including every other community in our area. And we like to see it left pristine, a common, the old term for the place where the community meets. So we're hoping that you'll reconsider the position of this kiosk and find a more suitable place. And that is our wish. I thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Timing to you, really good. Yep. Judy Shea. Hi, Judy. Just state your address.
I will.
Good here in the beginning.
Okay.
She gave you a nod. That was good.
My name is Judy Shea. I'm a 76-year resident of Wakefield. One of the main reasons I have not left Wakefield is because I enjoy the natural beauty. I like to underscore the word natural beauty of Lake Quannapowitt. I can understand the merchants want more advertisement so people will go to the town. When I walk around the lake, nearly every person has an iPhone in their hand checking out, and I hear the younger people checking out what restaurant they might want to go to. So it seems a duplication to have a 12-foot kiosk giving information that people walk with in their hand. So I think there should be a delay to look at it more seriously and maybe find other ways for the merchants to advertise, since the iPhone, Twitter, and all those social media are what the younger generation look at and who have the income to go out eating more often than others. That I think that's maybe they looked into that avenue, I'm not sure, but I think that's the avenue they should look into, because that's what people go for information. And so I hope that we'll maintain the natural beauty of the lake and come to a compromise with the merchants, and they find a way to get people to keep coming, because we wish both. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much. Okay, if you can do me a favor, though, just really, you shouldn't have applause, just as TV participants. We don't need that. Thanks. Maureen Howland. Hi, Maureen. Just, if you can state your name and address.
Maureen Howland, 3 Common Street.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. I don't have any prepared statements, so
It's okay.
I'll be brief. We are abutters. I heard about this kiosk. Tonight I heard about multiple kiosks around the lake. I'm extremely disturbed about it. I haven't even been able to sleep. I wake up every night thinking about an ugly kiosk on the lake. I can't envision it. I can look out my window and see the gazebo, see the lake, the grass, and I keep seeing the horror of a lit kiosk right on Church Street. Tonight, I hear that there might be a potential one at Vets Field, maybe at the other end of the lake. This is just wrong. This is so wrong. The lake is the most natural, beautiful thing in the town. Everybody that I ever happen to mention to that I live in Wakefield, they know about the lake. This is just the wrong thing to do. And I'm hoping that all the town council comes to their senses and puts a stop to kiosks on the lake. It is just wrong. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mona. Okay, Bob Miller. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
See if you just state your name and address so we know you're local.
My name is Bob Malhite. I'm the president of Wakefield Main Streets, and I live on Montrose Ave. I have a prepared statement, but I would like to add that this board voted unanimously back on May 31st to agree to these locations. It was not just a drop of the hat. We came in with something and we circled it on a map. This was something that was run completely through the town at every step of the way. To go back now and change it now not only sets a bad precedent for this meeting, but going forward, it sets a horrible precedent for the work that you guys do and ladies do every single day to make decisions for this town. The mission of Wakefield Main Street is to promote and enhance the economic vitality, cultural resources, historical significance, and the quality of life in downtown Wakefield. As a group of volunteers, we are committed to helping small business owners take advantage of all the resources available to them. Whether the resources are from the state, through Wakefield Main Streets, or the town, Main Streets will work aggressively to assist them in seizing opportunities. One of the projects that we have diligently worked on is the implementation of 4 kiosks throughout the downtown area and along Lake Quannapowitt. These 2-sided kiosks will be placed in strategic locations downtown to help promote our businesses. Additionally, there will be one 4-sided kiosk which will house a monitor similar to a TV on one side. The 4-sided kiosk is an important part of the program for multiple reasons. This kiosk will be just under 10 feet tall, not 12 feet tall. It'll be just under 10 feet tall, depending on how high or low it sits on the pad, which will be installed to secure the kiosk in place. The kiosk will be installed by Bluebirds LLC in cooperation and with assistance from the Department of Public Works and the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. The manufacturing and installation of this kiosk, there's no way that was 2 minutes. I know I read slow, but not that slow.
I gave you so much time. Why don't you go ahead? Go ahead. Just go ahead.
The manufacture and installation of the kiosks were paid for solely by Wakefield Main Streets through a state grant aimed at revitalization and supporting our businesses. A 25-inch by 40-inch monitor will be housed on one side of the kiosk. The casing for the monitor will take up one side of the kiosk, and the screen will be similar to the TV in homes with HD quality. It's really not much bigger than the TVs most people are watching on right now. We have worked closely with the town to set parameters for its use. The monitor will be closed captioned, and we were corrected today. It will be closed captioned, but there will be no sound on this monitor. It'll be closed captioned when showing videos, promotions, and will not be in use 24 hours per day. We will work with the town to determine specific hours when the monitor will be in use. However, it will not be during the overnight hours. Please be advised that the kiosk is not similar to what the DPW uses us to notify for events. It's totally different. It's just a TV. That is correct, yep. So the Main Street Board has also allocated money to properly landscape the area around the kiosk with bushes, shrubs, and/or flowers, and we would gladly work with the town to do that. The kiosk project, and specifically the 4-sided kiosk, is an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to supporting and building the businesses in Wakefield. Lake Quannapowitt continues to draw countless runners, walkers on a daily basis, many of whom may not be residents of Wakefield. This presents a great opportunity to make them aware of the great and unique shops, the restaurants Wakefield has to offer. As part of our willingness to work hand in hand with the town, we hired Mark Favorman of Favorman Designs. Mr. Favorman has worked with municipalities during his long career, and his assistance, ideas, management, and direction have been instrumental in the project.
Okay.
He was recommended by the town. This was not somebody we hired on our own. He is part of the wayfinding committee, and that's why we hired him. Wakefield Main Street has a substantial number of meetings with town officials. Every I that was dotted, every T that was crossed was done in correspondence with the town. I can't stress that enough. This isn't a surprise for anybody. We've been working with the town since day one. There's times I'm sure Mr. Mayo is afraid to answer his phone or his email because it might be us from Main Street.
Hey, Bob, I just have to interrupt. You have to kind of wrap it up at this
Okay,
stage.
I got one more
Can't give
thing.
you that. Yeah, right.
And as I said, finally, we like to stress that this project has been done with a strong partnership between Wakefield Main Streets and our town administration. Steve Mayo, Town Council, DPW Director Rick Stinson, and Town Planner Paul Rivas, and involvement from the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. All have been instrumental in the success of this project and have been a tremendous asset to Main Streets. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, thanks very much. Chris Barrett? Hi, Chris. Welcome. Just if you can state your name and
Thank you for your
address.
time. Chris Barrett, Pine Hill Circle. I am also co-president of the Wakefield-Linfield Chamber of Commerce. And we're here just to show our support for the fine work Main Streets has done, the fine work the town of Wakefield has done, the fine work the administrator has done. This is something that will help us enhance the downtown. It is a marquee location. It will draw people into town. It will help our businesses. And Wakefield-Linfield Chamber of Commerce just supports everyone's efforts. And I will be under 2 minutes. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. John, we have a discussion coming up. Okay, that's it for public participation. Thank you very much. So that's L7, yeah. Okay. Do you want to go to Peddlers and Hawkers? Tom's going to have to go.
Tom needs to leave.
Tom needs to leave, okay. Okay. So we have to, our town council, the other town council has to leave in 13 minutes. So I wanted to jump ahead to the rules and regulations for hawkers and peddlers so we could get your advice. And there'll be time later you'll have time to talk, trust me. I know you want to. Okay, so what the rules and regulations, we'll just do D first, so that'll become A.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tom, did you want to give your spiel on that?
Mr. Chairman, the town administrator asked me to review the hawkers and peddlers regulations of this board, mostly because they contain a highly specific provision that is that was becoming increasingly difficult to enforce. And in particular, it read, hawkers and peddlers must move from place to place in the exercise of their license. They may stop from time to time to do business, but never for more than 2 hours, and on any given day they may not stop within 100 feet of any location at which they had previously stopped on such day. You can imagine the administrative difficulties for the police in trying to enforce that. Steve suggested, and I agree, that it is not necessary to have that kind of requirement. Most towns don't have it in their hawkers and peddlers regulations. It would suffice to allow hawkers and peddlers to set up their stand or whatever on the public way, provided that they stay out of traffic, obviously, and not obstruct pedestrian traffic. I mean, they're not allowed to post any kind of long-term location. Nobody is entitled to stay in one place indefinitely. And so simply by striking that section, we would eliminate what has become an administrative burden for the police. Once I started in on this, though, I realized that there was a lot of editing that needed to be done, and so the proposed revision that's before you, it differs in lots of little respects, but I think you'll see that they were purely editorial and did not affect the substance, other than the removal of the limitation on movement. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This was put into place by a beloved, one of my favorite Board of Selectmen members. But it's really never worked because the slush cart doesn't, it might shift 10 feet, but I think then it stopped doing that. So it's a regulation that doesn't quite make sense. If we have an issue with somebody, we license them, we can do something with that. So it doesn't certainly tie our hands, but I think it's a good edit. It makes sense.
Questions, comments,
Yeah,
Tom?
the only thing I don't see here is something that, that space has to be ADA compatible.
Oh, well, that's really not an issue for hawkers and peddlers. Rather, the police would tell the hawker or peddler to move if he is not allowing at least 36 inches. Because at every spot on a sidewalk, we have to provide at least that for wheelchairs, right?
Questions, comments from town council?
I move that we adopt, is it
I'd say
A
approve
regulation?
the revision of the
approve the
regulation.
revision of the hawker and peddlers? I keep touching the screen because we used to have touch screens. The hawkers and peddlers license,
Regulation.
section 210-1.
Second.
Question, does that mean you don't have to move?
That's right.
I know. I like to ask the question, and I've been back and forth on this for.
They don't have to move. That's correct.
That's
Say that
right.
again?
They do not have to move,
So
correct.
you can set up a business anywhere and just stay there all day long, 7 days a week?
Oh,
That's what I'm asking.
all right. You don't have a right to any one place, but you can stay there, and when you're not doing business, you've got to move. You got to move. You can't leave your stand unattended on the public way.
Question I asked, I'd like to ask just two questions if I
Can
could.
he like sit down and,
Yeah.
can we do a process here?
Is this public?
Yeah.
Is this a hearing?
It's not, yeah, it's
No,
not part of the
no,
public
it's not.
participation.
So
Yeah,
are we allowing participation from the masses at this point?
I hope not.
No. Then I don't see the reason to have anyone speaking at this time.
Right.
I didn't know it was under participation. I mean, I was told there's going to be something discussion on the hawkers and peddlers tonight, so that's why they came.
Right, but there's
But
a,
now it's just a closed meeting and everybody's just already made the decision, it's done and it's over.
public participation, right, Willie, was, about a half hour ago, that's all.
I understand that, but it should have been said, because, I mean, we've had this meeting in Town Hall 2 months ago. We had it the week after Martin Luther King Day, and it went nowhere. Now it comes up before the board tonight, and it's just a done deal, it's gonna be done and over with. I don't think that's correct.
Well, at this stage, Will, there's nothing we can do right now. I mean, it's just, we can't
Well, let me
open
ask
it
you,
all
let me
up.
ask you this question then. Every time I ask to come before this board about this situation, nobody wants to put me on the agenda to come before the board.
You could have
Now
come
you-
tonight.
Wait a minute,
You
but
could
now
have
you
come
made it
tonight.
tonight.
Willie, did you need an invite to come tonight from us?
Well,
Is
I
that-
was under the impression that when I was told about this,
Mm-hmm.
that it was gonna be like the meetings that we had in town hall, the 2 meetings we had with certain selectmen and building inspectors and all this has all been discussed in the last 4 or 5 months.
Right, but
And
those
now
are,
all of a sudden you come and it's just all approved and done and over with.
it's a town council meeting, you can't just barge in and start talking, it
I'm
just.
not trying to budget people.
I know, I
I'm not trying to
understand.
budget. I was under the impression that this was a meeting over the licenses tonight. Nobody said it was participation. Well, now you're all set to just change the rule right over.
Well, we're not changing anything, it was just, that was on the agenda, that's how it was listed on the agenda.
But a peddler is a person that goes from place to place, town to town, not somewhere for 8 hours a day. And I'm told if I do that with my peddler's license, they're gonna make me move. So that's why I'm saying, I think there should be something that's brought up and discussed before it's voted on.
Tom, just one last thing, I know you have to get going. What you just brought up before about the movement of the peddlers and hawkers, doesn't that apply to Willie if he wants to do the same thing? He won't have to move, correct, unless there's some other.
Well, sure, yeah.
This is everybody.
This is everybody.
Anybody with a hawker's or peddler's license, they're all
So what we're
treated the
doing right
same.
now, if this passes, if this passes, this would apply to you as well as anyone else.
And yeah, that, I agree with you.
Right.
But I think it should be open to discussion, because there's certain parts of town you can go to, and certain parts of town you can't go to. So I think this should have been a thing, if you're gonna have the meeting, that's why I thought it was tonight, because we had this discussion twice in town hall. With different, even with building inspectors and with selectmen or councils now.
Sure. I mean,
And-
we can still talk afterwards when this,
But talking afterwards doesn't resolve it when you just passed it.
right, well, here's the thing, Willie, I mean, we have to have some kind of rules and regulations and guidance. We can't just wing it, you know, it's just, you can't come in, I'm sorry, you didn't know ahead of time, but it's on the agenda 48 hours in advance. So you can't just, the agenda was posted 48 hours ago, so you can't just come in and just start talking. I mean, I like you, trust me, but it just, you can't, we have to have some kind of, we have to have some rules and regulations.
What I would like to know then, is you as the chairman,
Right,
I would ask you, before you vote on this, if you would put it on maybe the next meeting, so it could be discussed before you vote on it and change it, so we can get everything out and see what we're gonna do with it. Because I have peddler's license, and I think I should be able to go to different parts of town too.
well, according to this, if it passes, you will be able
No,
to.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Mr. Mayor's already told me.
Under our rules and regulations that have been in effect forever, we do not allow peddlers in the central business district. That's not changing.
That makes
That's
sense.
staying the
That's
same.
not gonna change, right?
I understand.
Or I'm not proposing that, I should say.
I understand that, but you changed the law 3 years ago, that you have to move every 2 hours. Now it seems to me that you're taking and you're making special rules over here for special people. So I think that, I'm asking this board, is it possible, before you vote on this, can we set it up and come in?
It's up to you.
Or is it just a cut and dry deal?
You need to vote. You have a motion made and
Right.
seconded.
Right, Willie, we need to continue. We have to continue this, Willie. We have to continue, okay? All right, so we have a motion. We have a motion, if I can, please, Rada, please, come on. If, we have a motion on the floor and a second to pass the changes for the hawkers and peddlers license under Chapter 20. Any other discussion from the town council? Julie?
I mean, I guess I'm surprised by this. Are there other issues? Are there other, other peddlers? Or how did this come up? How did this come about is my question.
Okay, Steve.
We used to have a lot of peddlers in
Okay.
town, probably 3 or 4. We now probably have 2 on occasion. One which goes near the head of the lake almost every day, Fred's Franks. And then we have slush people, and occasionally we have others come in at a state license. They can come state or federal, state or town. A few years ago, the Board of Selectmen at the town put on a restriction to move every 2 hours. That was new. That has become problematic, and I think the police have better things to do, frankly. We have minimal complaints. In fact, one party has complained over the years regarding someone at the head of the lake. So frankly, and we've had a number of meetings on it. Some of those meetings were, if you're not going to have if you're not going to enforce the 2 hours, take it out, which is what I am proposing, what Town Council Mullen is opposing. If there's other issues to look at, we can certainly revisit this at any time. The other point is, in the central business district, it seems to me that we have people that are brick and mortar stores in there. We certainly would want someone to set up there. That's just my
And
opinion.
this would apply for both people with the state license as
State
well
or, I say, sorry, state or local, not federal, state or town.
Thank you for that.
And either way, if they have a state, they need to check in with us, they need to go to the Board of Health and what have you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor of passing the changes for Chapter 20 hawkers and peddlers? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, and Willie, just to be fair, we still can continue this conversation also, where you can and can't go, and that's the key for you. That's the key for you to where you can and can't sell. So we'll talk about this as well. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so, Yes. Let's go back to kiosks. Okay, so do we have any, this is just a town council discussion at this stage. Tom has to go to another meeting over. He has a Linfield meeting, so that's understandable. Back to the kiosk. Again, this is just the town council discussing the kiosk piece again in continuation. Any questions, comments? Tony, you have something?
This is directed to the Friends of Lake Quantipower. Did I give my permission to put my home phone number out there on a social media website? Anybody?
It was already public. We looked up.
Did you ask for my permission? Did you ask for my permission?
Excuse me, what?
Did you ask for my permission?
No, I didn't. So,
You know, I'll give you a quick civics, let me give you a quick civics lesson. When you call my house, I don't have an aide, I don't have an intern. A 14-year-old girl picks up that phone.
Okay, any
But
other?
I will say too,
I
mean, you know, in years past, and maybe it's different now with social media, I can agree with that, but in years past, I mean, I was surprised to see that nobody had a way that people could phone them to have an interactive
This is
discussion.
tens of thousands of people having access to my home phone. If you had emailed me, if you had contacted Steve, he'd be more than happy to give you my cell.
Oh, I see, no, you were, okay, all right. We should have called, I ended up calling people who, you know, did not have it public.
You can,
But
when you go
in
home
years
tonight, you
past-
can remove that, please. You can
Excuse me,
take
what?
that down.
Excuse me?
Can you take that post down?
Oh, all right, I will do
Okay,
that.
but I'm just gonna say one other thing about the kiosk. It's an old saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And that's my feeling on the kiosks.
Okay, Paul, do you have any comments, discussion?
I'm going to reserve my comments until everybody else speaks.
Okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
Maureen, anything, kiosk? Ian, anything else to add?
So, I have been, first of all, the emails with 35,000 exclamation points threatening to not vote for us, which I could care less about, it's not why I do this job, don't work. As someone who teaches persuasive writing, not a good way to get my attention. Karen Failer called me and we had a lovely conversation. She is thoughtful. I've known her for a long time. I listened to what she had to say. There were some emails that were great. There were others that were actually moronic. Someone posted on Facebook to invite everyone from out of town. That woman has no credibility with me. I think she's lied in the past upon issues, and I just... So that's the problem. There's been a lot of stuff thrown at us from people that have no credibility. With me, certainly, because in the past, they've lost that credibility. However, I appreciate the concern about the placement of the kiosk at Church in Maine. I think the kiosks are something good to try. I think the wooden ones to me looked lovely. I've been traveling a lot this summer and I've been making a point to look at similar kiosks. The wooden ones, I was in Indianapolis, I was in Minnesota, and they drew my attention and they taught me a little bit about the town I was visiting, which I did appreciate. I know that we approved the location. I certainly, I wouldn't be against being open to taking a look at that location and just thinking about it a little bit differently. And not because I've been yelled at, because that isn't going to work. Because at some point I'm going to just say yes to the location because I'm that annoyed. But I really do appreciate the people that I respect bringing this, talking about that location. You know, the 12-foot, it's not 12 feet, the neon, that's the Las Vegas, that stuff isn't going to work because it's being dramatic. But I am willing to think about it. And I know we did vote it, that's the last placement. That kiosk itself is the one that is would go in last. I think we have time to maybe discuss, and I know we voted on placements. Doesn't mean we can't rethink the placements. We have that kiosk. It's going up somewhere in Wakefield. I think it should go up in a place that will help teach people about our town and direct people down to our main street and teach people about our lake, frankly. In the Hartshorn House and the fact that we used to gather ice from there. I mean, I like the historical options we have for some of these kiosks. So those are my thoughts. Not against the kiosk. I'm just thinking after some consideration about the placement of that one. I also disagree with folks that talk about the lack of transparency and not knowing it. You know, everything that comes up from the bloody garage to the police station, I am so sick of those arguments, because we do talk about things in the paper and we do have meetings. And I heard from someone who on her own went to the branding meeting in the bottom of the savings bank because she was interested in the kiosk and the advertisement. Can we do things better? We will try, but you know, we put this stuff out there as opposed to knocking on everyone's door. That we just don't do that. So the lack of transparency is not an argument that gets to me very well, but I do think that rethinking that position, maybe, is something I would consider. Those are my thoughts.
We have some time, so Paul?
I think I'm one of the few here that has the most background knowledge in regards to this whole issue with the kiosks. As far as timelines are concerned, this initial discussion started on December of 2014. That's how long ago this discussion started. And it continued for the next 3 years, and it went to its maximum coverage when we tried to obtain, and we did obtain, the grant through patronicity in mass development. So we did a full-scale 5,000 email presentation to a lot of individuals. We held public hearings. We were as transparent as possible when we brought this forward from 2014. If anyone in this room says we didn't hear about it, we didn't know about it, you're living in a cave, in my personal opinion. I'm sorry. Because we made sure we did the right thing and put the message out to everyone. Do we invite everyone by hand? Absolutely not. We are the executive staff of the town right now. Our job is to make decisions based upon the information at hand. So, was there a massive meetings by the town? No, but there were massive meetings by Main Street, because I led them, so did Mr. Malhoit lead them, okay? We had 2 forums, we were present at 2 farmers markets, we had 2 Wakefield 101s. I mean, we put ourselves out there in more ways possible to notify the public of what we were doing. And then I still get emails saying, you weren't transparent. Seriously? I really don't appreciate it. I've been doing this now for 18 years. I've been trying to represent to the best of my ability this community, and for you people to tell me that I'm not representing you, that's a slap in the face, and that's how I'm taking it. Okay, we are the caregivers of the community. We are the parks commissioners of this town. We don't need anyone's permission to put things up anywhere. That's what you voted us in for. Let's take the Friends of Lake Quannapowitt back when you started with Gertrude Spalding Park. Did you have a public hearing for that? Mm-hmm. You did? I wasn't invited. Did you have a forum?
They had many town meetings on it.
I wasn't invited, and I was a sitting selectman.
But it used to be written in the paper.
Excuse me, my point of the fact is I wasn't invited. That's all I'm trying to make a point. I'm just trying to make the point, I wasn't personally invited. So this personal invitation stuff has to stop. Okay, it really does. Okay, the kiosk that they're proposing for the lake is 9 feet 9 inches tall. Okay, do I really like the location being 18 feet off the pole? Absolutely not. If I had my way right now, I'd put it right next to the pole behind the phone booth. And you know why? Because there's a parking space there. There'd be no sight distance. It'd be easy to put a couple of planters in there and really beautify it. And its own, if you turn that television sideways, it'd be bigger than what you'd see on that lake. And it would go out, it's only on sunrise to sunset, and then it goes dark. I don't know where anyone was saying that this is gonna be on all night long. Miscommunication on Facebook drives me crazy. And people spreading words about that really drive me nuts. I don't know if they're friends of Lake Quannapower or they're the Civic League. I just don't know who's sending them. Half of them shut me off on Facebook because they don't want me to see what they're writing. But that's okay, I still find out. And the fact is, the screen is 25 by 38 inches, okay? It's a TV screen, it's a monitor, okay? I don't think it's going to throw. We worked hard, and it's not just for businesses. If the Friends of Lake Quannapower want to promote something that they're doing on the lake, guess what? You call the town, boom, it goes up on the screen. Or on any of the other kiosks. It's not just for businesses. Will it benefit businesses? Absolutely, because there's going to be a map on there showing the communities and where businesses are located, yes. But will it be the only thing? No. It's an informational kiosk. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to inform people of what is in this town and what's great about this town. I moved there 30 years ago. I love this town. For anyone to even think otherwise is crazy. Sorry for going on so long. I'm really, but that's why I told you. That's why I told you I would wait until last. Okay? I'm sorry. But listen, look, I have documentation from the first presentation by John Ross, 12/16/2014, to this board. 7-0 vote. Okay, after they heard it, for the green light to go to patronicity. So we started with patronicity in January of 15. By the time we got through 15, we were all set to do the whole patronicity thing going into the latter part of 16 and beginning of 17. So we were out there. We did a whole bunch of things. We had another presentation in 2/15/17 to this board. Another vote. Yep, we supported. How many times does this board have to support something on television, on an agenda, and have to personally go out there and say to people, oh, we have to personally invite you in to have this meeting so that you can get input? We're out there. How many times? How many times?
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Yeah, it's.
This is not.
Patronizing attitude.
Yeah, what, here,
I'm sorry.
hold on.
No, I think there's some
I'm sorry, but it's not patronizing.
It's patronizing.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, technically, we're not supposed to have a back and forth right now. That's
Well,
the
I
thing.
mean, as a community member, that's not what anybody's saying, personally invite me. And you and I have a common public Facebook friend. Shame on you.
Okay, stop. Enough,
Shame
stop.
on
I don't have to name them, but I'm not going to name the ones that are bad.
You're all like me, you don't do Facebook.
Stop.
How do you find out
I
about
don't have a hammer here,
You're
so
right. I'm not
stop
going back and forth with the public.
This is not supposed to be a zoo. It's turning into a zoo, and it's appalling. Okay, I understand.
Appalling?
It is appalling. You can't have this kind of, this is just crazy, like Willie's
It's
in
for
there.
accusations
Wait a minute.
without any response.
You have to have some formal process here. This is not working out, okay? So listen,
Can I just
yes,
say
sure,
something?
go ahead, Bill.
And I would respectfully ask everybody we need to take it down. We came in, and I apologize as president for any difficulties with social media. In our urgency to get involved with this issue, and I respectfully disagree with Mr. Donaco about the transparency. But again, I'm not looking to do this. We came in with one thing, just asking for a delay, for some consideration that we offered to work with Main Streets to look at an alternative. That's still our one position. That's our only ask tonight. We'd like to get some consideration of that in some form, some acknowledgement that that's a good idea to go ahead. I will, as president of the organization, encourage you to take that action, and we will follow through. We will do our part. I'm not sure how it resolves itself, but we owe it to the community, I think, and collectively. Mistakes are made all the time, both sides. We need to see if we can look for some alternative that will be reasonable and acceptable, and we're willing to do that. And that's all we came in for tonight, and we're still looking for that in some way. It doesn't have to come tonight, but we will need some assurances that we can work in that way if you would provide them.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, so if my opening little monologue before everyone really started get going, I mentioned over the next 3 weeks, in order to meet the deadline time frame for the grant, I wanted to get your ideas. We wanted to get your ideas. And Ann mentioned as well, the kiosk at Lake Ave and Church Street, is there a better fit? If there is, we could do something. If there isn't, we need to do it rather fast. But again, you guys know the lake better than anyone, or as well as anyone. So I think that time-wise, I don't think we need like 10 years to figure it out. So it's a matter of those key points, though. The town needs to own the location. The town has to have electrical capability. It's got to be connected to the walkway. It can't be in Greenwood. No offense to Greenwood. I used to live there. But you can't be in Greenwood. It's not going to work. So the town needs to consult the DPW, Main Street Subcommittee. This all can take place over the next few weeks. It's not going to be a monumental feat. It's just a matter of trying to cooperate, trying to get things done, trying not to, trying not to be bitter with each other. We're all working towards the same thing. It's a matter of different ways of doing it. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Who knows if it's going to work? But there's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears gone into this with the main streets, as well as subcommittees, town council, and Paul mentioned years and years of BOS. I mean, the BOS have passed, have approved it many times. So I don't think there's really much more we can do right now, except that there is time. If you can gather your, whether it might just be FOLQ, it might be 5 groups, 10 groups. There's a lot of different people represented here, but if you want to work together to get some other ideas, again, there's not a lot of places on the lake that it's going to work with all these components. But we're willing to listen, as Ann mentioned earlier, but if the time frame is short. But there is some time. So you jumped on it, we talked last Friday, there's still time.
Mr. Chair, we have until what, probably August right now?
Right, I was trying to do it by August 6th, but we could
August,
stretch it a little, we
mid-August?
could drag our feet a little bit.
The electronic component?
Right, well, that's part
Electronic
of the walkway.
portion,
Sure, definitely.
mid-August?
Everything is in. At this point, it's just finishing up and working out the logistics with the town.
Right.
Okay.
If I may add something.
Sure.
I've been kind of quiet in the background, but with all this yelling and all this other stuff, this has been out in the open for 3 years, whether you want to debate it or not. But let's just use May 31st as a date that everybody here voted for it, okay? Up until Sunday, I hadn't heard from one person in one other group asking me, hey, Bob, can we sit down and talk about a different location? That's all they've done is gone on and attack, be insulting, be disrespectful and everything else. What they should have done is been using that time to call me, to call Mr. Donaco, to call Mr. Mayo, and say, hey, can we set up a meeting with Main Street and maybe look at another time or another location? But it's past that point now. We're up against it. There's only 3 weeks left. And it took us 3 years to come up with a location. Good locations. This location makes sense. If we start going backwards, not only are we not going to have it up by the Italian Festival, which is our goal all along, it's stated all along, but we would be in danger of possibly losing the grant, or part of the grant, because we've already, when this board voted 7-0, that we could move forward, we approached the state and said, we're all set, we're good to go. So now, what is the state gonna think if they look back and say, hey, well, you know what, they really weren't good to go? That's a reflection on me, it's a reflection on Main Street, it's a reflection on the town. This is really, it's the best spot. And I'm trying to be respectful. I've been sitting back, I've been taking the beatings that I've been taking online, and I've been quiet about it, because that's what Main Street does. We're a conservative group, and we work hard for the businesses. But enough is enough. I really have to stand up and say, look, you voted for it, you had the information in front of you. You know, Bill and I had a great conversation on Sunday. We did. But I was very upfront with him and saying Main Street is not looking forward to delaying the vote or moving the kiosk. You know, Mr. Mayo and I met several times, along with Rick Stinson, along with Paul Reeves, who isn't here this evening, and we picked the best spot, because that's the spot that gets the most people downtown. And that spot right now in the lake, and Mr. Mayo, I appreciate the time you're giving me now. That spot that we're putting out in the lake, has anybody been down there, honestly? It's got this big green trash barrel. It's got 2 poles tied together with a 2x4. It's got
probably the last payphone east of the Mississippi that actually is around. And it's not the most attractive spot on the lake. So I understand beautification.
It is.
I understand that, people want to keep it the same, and we'll do floral arrangements, we'll do bushes around, we'll take our own money, and put it into making that worthwhile. But this is just crazy.
Yeah, so what I said earlier, and that's great. So
I
hold on a
appreciate
second.
it.
Can I
Just,
ask
you
one
know,
question, sir?
Sure, go ahead.
I've lived here for 47 years, sir. Aside from the fact that I'm against this, I would like to know, in all honesty, I am not a Facebook person. I'm 76 years old. I don't do media. I read the papers. I see what's going on around town, blah, blah, blah. How would have I found out about any of these meetings, please? How would I have known? Where do I go now to find out when all these town council meetings are taking place?
The paper has our agenda, the,
Chronicle doesn't. I get the Wakefield Chronicle.
we picked one paper, we have Daily Item, that's the main paper.
Daily Eyes,
We
yes.
don't,
And
we
what
don't
else,
do,
sir?
well, if you
We
go on
don't
the.
pick them, they cover us.
Right, they cover us, Mark Sardella covers us 5 times a
After the
week.
fact, yes, but before the
No, not
fact.
after the fact, no, this has been going on for years. Mark Sardella covers, he comes to every meeting, it's like a
I don't
religious.
care who comes to the meeting. I just want to know where it would
So
be.
it's in the paper, it's in the website, it's in many different mailings, actually.
To the town hall.
Maybe that's an issue
Town
of
meeting.
something.
The communication always can be better, we're trying to get it better, but the point is that it's been going on for years, all
Why don't you
this
put it on the
activity.
electric bill, something we all read?
We could put it on the kiosk.
I'm not interested in the believe me.
But remember,
That's a big,
that works for
ugly
everyone.
eyesore.
It works, that's your opinion, though. Go ahead, Karen, go ahead.
Can I?
Yeah, sure, I don't
can
want to keep going back, so go
clarify
ahead.
something?
Sure, go ahead,
Because I think there's some confusion about both what we said and.
Sure.
The problem was not that we didn't know anything about that there was going to be an effort for some signage and finding ways to bring people into the business community, into the retail area. We did know that. We have combed all records. We have looked at the newspaper. There is no place that it is in minutes, that it is in a public arena where people could be alerted that there was going to be a large electronic kiosk on the common. And if somebody can find that, the other part of this was so, there was such a lack of communication that, the people on these different groups, we're the people that go to town meetings. We read the paper every day. And we were confused, and not only us. We tried to get a picture in the paper, and even people at the item were confused about what this kiosk looked like. This was 2 weeks after your vote. This is the nerve center of Wakefield. And when we sent in a photo of this kiosk to accompany our press release, they thought it was fake. They thought it was not what you guys were talking about. Now, if they were confused, what do you expect for the rest of us about this device that's coming on the lake? Now, I know there were a lot of meetings, but you did not succeed in getting this into the public arena. Now, let me just back up, because I do know, from work we've done, that working with the community on public space is not easy. People have tremendous ownership of, especially the lake, and feel very strongly. So a few years ago, when I was working on the renovation of Colonel Connolly, I was thinking about this, and I happened to go to somebody I respected, who was a selectman at the time, Steve Mayo. And I said, what is the best way to do this? Because people always get excited about public space. How can I do that? How can we do that effectively and responsibly? And he gave me wonderful advice. Go to every organization, show them your plans, have a forum, have questionnaires, and of course, people still threw Rotten Tomatoes. That's a part, it's a part of the process. And that was before social media, but there was still Rotten Tomatoes. But that kind of process is messy and cumbersome, but it's the best. And that did not happen here, at least with the large kiosk on the common. There was so much confusion about that, and literally everybody was surprised on that issue. And so that's different than saying you know, didn't have public meetings. I know you did. But I want to clarify that differently.
This is what I think we should do. My monologue I thought was very good, just me personally. It was really, there was a paragraph I just happened to underline again, just to remind you. So we have plenty of time to look at this. We do have more time than, we're not going to vote on anything tonight. We're not going to change anything tonight, but over the next 3 weeks, if there's something that meets all the criteria I laid out that had to be met, that's a possibility we could move it. If everything's been met, it's a big if, it's a huge if, but 3 weeks is plenty of time. 3 weeks is plenty of time, it really is. I mentioned in here too, I'm not going to jeopardize that grant and all that work they did, because they're never going to get another $100,000 grant ever. And Bob and Paul and Susan and Ryder and Chris and anyone else I've missed. But there's a ton of people that work their tail off to get this town to be a better place to live. And there's always going to be opinions, what looks good, what looks lousy. You're going to have two sides for everything. You hate me, you love Paul Donaco. That's just what's going to happen. People have different opinions. You don't have to say anything, Paul. So it's just a matter of, we're trying to still do the best we can, be fair. Communication can always be better. Julie's a communication expert. She got 2,100 votes. She obviously has something to bring to the table. So communication, I know, will pick up with Julie here. So we can do a better job. Did we do a pretty good job? I think we did a pretty good job. But better job, sure, we can do a better job. There's no doubt. We're also going to hire a... Jim, hold on one sec, Jim. Hold on, Jim. So, I know you did. All right. So before I know, and I love you, Jim. Hold on one second. I'll let you have the final say. But so over the next 3 weeks, there's plenty of time to get together with the powers to be. If you have a spot in mind, you may have one already that's going to be perfect, or you just may hate it and not want it, and that's not going to work either. So think about that. Talk to Bob. Talk to anyone you want to talk to, but Bob is obviously spearheading this. And I'm not taking away from his urgency to get something in, because he'll never get another grant again, and that's not going to happen. We're not going to have him lose that. Okay, so Jim, we want to wrap this up. And how is Ireland first?
I will be the soul of brevity. That's what I say at town meeting. I did just land from Ireland, all right? And my arms are tired, all right? Yeah, but I didn't want to miss this meeting either. I think the people did a lot of work. They did a good job. But that location is probably the worst possible location. And I'm going to take a little different angle from a public safety viewpoint. There's 3 crosswalks right there, and that's going to be a distraction. And I've talked with some police officers who know about it, and I'm not going to mention any names. But when they go by that place, they're going to see this kiosk lit up. They're going to take a look, crosswalk right in front of them. Another crosswalk probably 25 yards. Another one right by the church. Public safety is my major concern there. I think there are other places around the lake for that kiosk. And I'll tell you, right down at Veterans Field is a good spot. As you turn into the parking lot, all the runners stop there, all the walkers stop there, the bikers stop there, and that's where the farmers market is. Great spot right there at the entrance. If not there, right by the flagpole. It's on Lake Quantipa, but not on that spot on our Wakefield Common. It just doesn't, it's not a good fit at all. And that's basically what I have to say. I think the intentions are well. I think all the people that are against it want a better downtown. But also, we're playing catch-up downtown. And I haven't heard this in the paper. Melrose did a lot. Reading did a lot. the kiss of death was Linfield with Market Street. And I think, and the whole economy has changed in Wakefield. I can remember, it used to be in a Wakefield item, the most enterprising community north of Boston, headlines in the paper. I worked downtown in the late 40s and the 50s, A&P, First National, everybody shopped there. There's not much down there now, and I don't know if we can get anything, but you can make do and do the best you can with what you have and probably add. So that's basically what I have to say as a former selectman to all you councilors now.
Yeah, we like both names, actually. So, yeah, so Bill, that's the main thing. So Bill, Jim wants to spearhead this whole thing, so I'd let him get some ideas out there. But Jim, thanks very much.
Well, I think, you and I talked about this.
Right.
There are places there, if you set up a committee.
Right.
I'd be
Yeah,
glad to serve on it.
Karen and Bill were going to spearhead that whole front, so definitely, okay? Thanks very much, Jim. And welcome back from Ireland. How was the trip, all right?
Pardon?
Trip okay to Ireland?
Oh, great.
Good.
Saw people I hadn't seen for a long time. It was
Good.
great.
Good. But
Really
you're glad to
great.
be back to Wakefield.
But I did
That's good,
fly
too.
back for it. My arms are tired, so
Okay.
I just landed. We just landed in Boston.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
Do the right thing for the town, will you?
Thanks, Jim. Thanks very much.
No.
Oh, Rada. You know, we're all going to go to your store because you're not going to talk. We're all going to go there, though.
There were 6 people that said no immediately.
Okay.
You want to go to 3.
Okay, we need to keep moving, but thank you all for your lively discussion. So 3A, we need to go to the Greenwood Stations.
Let's approve the minutes.
Yeah.
I move
Oh,
to
so
approve the
back to
minutes
the
from
beginning.
June 25th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, in favor, 6-0. Okay, now, are we back to 3A? You want to do Greenwood Station?
Yeah, here, yeah. Not 3A.
4A, sorry, 4A. Thank you, Paul. So we'll move on to 4A on the agenda. Greenwood Station LLC, proposed 40B, 998 to 1000 Main Street. Welcome. Thanks for the long delay.
For the record,
Yes.
is this on?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good. Thank you.
For the record, Jeff Engler from SEB LLC representing Greenwood Station this evening. We're withdrawing our proposal and now proposing a giant kiosk at 9898 and 1000.
Okay.
That's next
It's
meeting.
very funny, though. Yeah, we'll do that August 6th. Thanks.
Actually, I'll be brief. We appreciate you all hearing us tonight. I'll go into as much or as little detail on any of the elements of the proposal. Wakefield has had 40Bs. To its credit, it's done a lot of mixed-income housing under your inclusionary bylaw. I know it's important to the town that eventually you get to 10% and take control of your destiny, so to speak, relative to housing production, and you've worked hard on your housing plan. It's important to note that our proposal is for 27 rental units, so under 40B and the regulations, all 27 will count towards the town's subsidized housing inventory, not just the affordable component, not just the 7 units, so all 27 go to your subsidized housing inventory. So with that said, we have a brief presentation that I can, do I control the presentation, Paul, or how does it work?
You can.
Yeah. And let me back up for 1 second. We're involved in a lot of 40B projects. Candidly, some of them aren't the best. Some of them are antagonistic. Some of them are friendly. This particular location and this particular project, at the expense of humility, is really as good a project and as good a location as you're going to find for mixed income multifamily housing. It's in a mixed use area. We're not setting a huge precedent relative to the type. In other words, right next to us, as you'll see in the presentation, is something of a size and scale. In fact, it's bigger than what we're proposing. We're on a main thoroughfare, so there's lots of vehicular traffic. We are approximately 2,500 feet from the commuter rail stop there's bus service, there's retail, there's multifamily. This is not at the end of a subdivision or a cul-de-sac in a very, not that Wakefield has too many rural areas, but hopefully you understand my perspective in that it's a really good location for this type of housing. This is a less good aerial, but it shows a higher vantage point of the greater area. But as you can see, we're right on Main Street. It's the combination of two parcels. I don't know. Does this have a laser or no? Is that not? That, if you're facing the parcel on Main Street, the building to the left is fairly consistent with what we're proposing. It has parking at grade under the building and then 3 residential levels above it. That is, we are not attempting to do anything more grandiose than that. It's 3 levels of residences above 1 level of podium parking. That's a condominium building. We're doing rental. Ours will be smaller than that. But once again, from a context standpoint, it's consistent to something that's already there. That's the front of the property, which currently consists of 2 structures and 3 rental units. That's on the other side. To the right of the image, you can see the beginning of the retail plaza. There's a 2-family brick house right across the street. And to the left, you can kind of see what's really a 3.5-story townhouse community, I believe 14 units and of multifamily housing there as well. A little bit of a closer image. I'm not saying our architecture is going to be exactly like that, but from a context standpoint, 3 levels above parking. A little bit of a different look down Main Street, looking south from the property. And then looking north, this is a reasonable image showing the retail plaza. Those buildings mostly are single level, but I'd say there's about 7, 8 different retail stores in that plaza. So there's already a lot of vehicular traffic going in and out of that plaza, not to mention along Main Street. The site plan, one of the nice things about the program is, as you can see, the rear setback. There's a fair amount of topography in the rear that's going to remain untouched. So inherently, we have a nice setback to the rear of the property. Behind the property, there are single-family residences. So just the nature of the site plan is creating a large buffer between the rear of the building and the rear property line, not to mention, as I said, there's quite a bunch, quite a topography, a grade change from the back of our property up to a higher elevation. The front of the project will be serviced by the Half Moon entryway, and the parking will all be out of sight, so it won't be a sea of macadam. There won't be all vehicles for passers-by, so all of the residences will park under the building out of sight from anybody, either pedestrians or vehicles traveling along Main Street. And feel free, if any, I don't know what's customary, if anybody has any questions as I go, feel free to stop me.
Let you finish, and then
Okay.
we'll have a bunch of
and then the last 2 slides before I go to those, it's important, they're representative images. One of them you guys are well aware of at 600 North, and the other is a project in Wellesley called the Belclair. Why have I selected these images? Because I think they're nice representations of high-quality multifamily housing. This is 4 stories with retail at grade. We are not proposing any retail, but we have parking. That's actually much more pronounced with the residences in the back. But it's a nice use of different materials, different colors, some banding. 600 North is much broader to north. We have more of a long, narrow site. So our presence on the street, if going back, as you can see, we're not going to have a huge presence on Main Street because most of the building will run north to south, not east and west. And admittedly, the application that we submitted to Mass Housing, I think most of you are familiar, we've submitted for site eligibility to Mass Housing. They're reviewing the application, which is why we're here. The architecture that was included in the application was very preliminary and frankly, was not up to speed to what we want or what we're going to expect. So we included these two images as something that we think is more representative to the look and feel and quality that's going to be presented. But obviously, as you all know, we have a long process in front of us. We need to appear before the Zoning Board of Appeals on all technical matters, civil engineering, traffic, design, landscaping. So all of that will be pushed and pulled upon and frankly makes for a better project at the end. So we look forward to the public hearing process. We look forward to having a collaborative process throughout. And that's really the scope of our presentation tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions, either of a technical nature or a process or administrative nature.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. Tony?
Just of the 27 units, what's the breakdown of one bedroom?
12 one bedrooms, 12 two bedrooms, 3 three bedrooms. And for those of you that are not familiar, it's statutorily required now that every 40B, regardless of rental, condo, 10 units, 300 units, has 10% threes, so that's non-negotiable. So we have 3 three bedrooms, 12 two bedrooms, and 12 one bedrooms. And honestly, and we do a lot of these projects, this type of project caters to several demographics. Young professionals because of the proximity to the transit, empty nesters, people that want to stay in Wakefield. They might have a house that they don't want to shovel, they don't want to landscape. Yep. Maybe they live in Florida half the year, but they like Wakefield, they have roots here, and they want a simpler life, they don't need the space. And then also, candidly, you get a lot of single parents fresh out of divorces. One of the members has the house, the other's looking for somewhere to live. So those are really kind of the demographics that are attracted to rental housing. They're really renters by choice. For a long time in the Commonwealth, rental housing had a stigma. Now you're seeing lots and lots of people rent for different reasons. And we think this will be very well received. It's in a superior location that would be attractive to lots of different groups.
So parking has long been an issue in that area. I'm very familiar with it. I live right around the corner. How many parking spots do you anticipate? Because I really don't want to hurt businesses down there anymore by having some of their spots taken up.
Right. We've proposed 30 spaces, so approximately 1 per unit. And what that does is it's really a marketing question, and it really self-selects the tenants, because people that have 2 cars aren't going to be able to, they're just not going to have a space. So from if somebody, let's say, for instance, to use your example, it becomes kind of a regulatory issue. If somebody lives there and they only have 1 space with their lease, but they're choosing to park in the retail plaza across the street, I would hope that the town has recourse the same way anybody living in any other spot. But it self-selects by only providing essentially 1 spot per unit. You're not getting people with multiple cars. So, and also, and this is a true statement, and we'll have data to support this. The type of renter today has, with the proliferation of Lyft and Uber and the proximity to mass transit, there'll be people here that don't own a car, that just Uber, that just Lyft, that take the train. So we think 1 spot per unit, and we also have a lot of 1 bedrooms. We think that's a good and appropriate
Last question
ratio.
for you. Just make sure you work with the school system if you anticipate a lot of students coming in to the department. Thank you.
We will.
Paul?
Thank you. So 28 units, is that correct?
27.
27 units.
So,
okay, so to go on to Mr. Longo's concern with the parking, there is pretty much close to a war down there at times between the people inside the plaza and the businesses outside the plaza as far as where parking is concerned, and where people who are going to their locations, where can they park. Sometimes we take the signage down and we allow parking freely. Sometimes the signage is put back up, there's 2-hour parking, 1-hour parking, but it's very limited on Main Street, as it is now. I think this will make it I want to say the 4th condo.
Well, this is apartment.
But it's still multi-resident.
Sure.
Between that location and the Greenwood School. So there's a lot of people already nestled into that area, and they're all fighting for the street parking, even though it's not guaranteed, but they're all looking for that street spot, especially when they have people coming over the house. So it's a concern, especially that's a busy intersection there too. People coming in and out of the plaza, people coming out of the condo, I don't see that much, but there's a lot coming in and out of the plaza, and that's gonna be straight in on, I think, on your entrance to your building. You said this is going before the ZBA, so I will rest assured that the ZBA will do due diligence on taking care of other aspects of design on this. But you're going straight back, so the property isn't wide then, right?
Relatively speaking, no. One of the things I would recommend on that issue, and I tell this when I'm before zoning boards, is the municipality's strength is in the permit. And one of the things that I would recommend here to my client and other clients is, as part of, whether typically on a management operational issue would be closer to your certificate of occupancy once you've kind of figured out how, is to have a condition that the town has the right to review a lease, a sample lease that limits one parking. You can see it for yourself in writing in advance, and you have the power. You don't have to give a CO until you see it that says no more than 1 unit or 1 space per unit.
Right.
In perpetuity. So you have or the zoning board, I should say, has the capability within the language and the conditions of the permit to put provisions and limitations that makes the town of Wakefield comfortable that it will be limited. Now, like with any development, if a certain tenant goes rogue or whatnot and, has 5 cars or whatever, it would be no different than somebody renting a 2-family house or something like that, and the town has recourse in that situation. But we certainly can make sure that the way the property is managed, that there are limitations and expectations of the tenant, so that I know from day one, if I'm renting a unit, I'm not going to have more than 1 space. So.
Thank you.
Maureen?
So this is the area that I live in as well also, so I'm really excited that projects like this are coming. I think it's who's excited, like you said, who's excited to stay in Wakefield and move to Wakefield. I think it's a great site by the commuter rail. The conversation turns about parking. That's not the big issue. The big issue is that we have 27 great units that people are going to come to. So I'm looking forward. I don't know if we can add it to our future agendas, but I love that these are going in front of the ZBA and traffic advisory, but I'd love to get updates on this. If we can make sure to make that part of our, I know with other projects we get updates, but I'd just love to hear the updates, because I know I have full faith in our ZBA board and our traffic advisory board and some of the licensing board. And Paul, I'm watching you take notes there, but I'd love to get updates on this so we can hear about it, because I think it's great and I'm really appreciative.
Thank you.
Julie?
No, I would just
Ann?
echo what Maureen said. I
Okay.
think I live in that area as well, and I think it'll be great. I think, talking about parking, it is so close to the Greenwood School and so many kids walk that we'll just have to make sure that, that stays a safe walkway. I'm sure that our committees will take care of that.
Right, no, I think it's great too. It's just, again, just repeating, with the risk of repeating, the Greenwood Plazas is just, they have chronic limitation for spaces. They have huge A-frames out there year-round that say you're on camera and will tow you in a heartbeat. So there needs to be an exchange and a movement of cars, but you certainly can't, expect any parking over there, because
no.
That's, and you know that anyway. But I think location-wise, I think it's very convenient for the bus, train, commuter rail. So I think it's good. It's just a matter of certainly just keep doing what you're doing. I'd love to have the updates, like Maureen said too. Sometimes we find out just in little snippets. And so it'd be nice to get updates along the way.
Thank you.
What's needed from us on this?
I'm sorry, Paul?
Is it what's needed from us on this?
We will be sending in a letter. It was in your packet.
Yep.
As long as that was okay to Mass Housing, just to
And the whole
indicate our acceptance
impact on
of
the
it.
schools and
Yep.
everything else.
Right, so just sending the letter, so.
Very good.
Do we need to vote on the letter still? Probably?
Authorize, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion?
I move that we authorize Steve to send the letter as noted in our packet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none? Okay,
We
great.
appreciate
Thanks very
your
much.
time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the long delay. It was worth it, I'm sure,
And I
just
do
to see
think
us.
On this issue, it's important to note that after this one gets permitted and approved, Tarrant Lane gets permitted and approved, we are basically at 10% affordable housing.
Can we
So
do
we'll-
updates on the kiosk? Would that be possible?
You know, while you're ahead. We're gonna update you. Thanks for coming in.
I had to, I'm sorry.
I know, that's, we appreciate the humor.
We can revote.
Well,
To
thank you.
know very quickly.
Okay, so next, going to 4B. So
13, 15?
13, 15? Albion Street, reduction in past taxes. Steve, you want
Right.
to take that one?
I think that the town council may recall that, remember that in November of 2016 at the town meeting, our regular town meeting adopted Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 59A, which basically allowed the town council to enter into agreements with owners of commercial property, or I should point this out, people that were purchasing commercial property that had nothing to do with the issue of the hazardous waste on their property, so they weren't the people that did it. And the property had a lot of back taxes on it, what have you. So what would happen is, we as a town would say, we certainly don't want to foreclose a tax lien on back taxes and undertake all that liability. The banks didn't want to foreclose on their mortgages because it was a quote-unquote dirty site. So it was very hard to get entities to come in and rebuild these commercial properties. So anyways, we did look into our tool belt, and it was a tool that cities and towns can use to help these businesses out, help these businesses owners out. So 13-15 Albion Street, where the cobbler is where the cobbler's been for a long time, is one of those sites. So what happened is a person who actually happens to be a licensed site professional purchased 13-15 Albion Street, and basically took over the back taxes and took over the problem of cleaning up the property. Put in over $100,000 to take care of the cleaning solvents that were actually dumped just into the ground years ago, just actually dumped into the ground with no filtration or anything. I guess that's the way it was done many years ago. He put in a filtration system, a new basement floor, worked very closely with the town, and my hook with him is that, you know what, we wanted to have maybe businesses that we'd like to have downtown, that maybe have professional or what have you. We didn't want a litany of some of the other businesses that we've had in town. So he did keep the cobbler, which I think was great. I think that's a great business that people come to. And the next door is a real estate company, which again is a business which brings in foot traffic and what have you. Has 2 units above that I think will be outstanding, and he's going to keep the those beautiful bay windows and bring them back. I've had a lot of discussions with him over the years. So in any event, in order for him to make this work, he'd be looking to have his back taxes, or the back taxes on the property, forgiven in the amount of approximately $38,000. It's in your packet. It's not money that we are giving back to anybody. It's money that we haven't collected. I think this is part of our tools in our toolbox to help out businesses and to grow the downtown. So town meeting gave the town council the authority to do that. What I'd be asking the town council to do is to work with town council and our town treasurer, and to draft that agreement and have it signed. And any questions?
This is why we bought into this law.
This is exactly why.
This exact type of project.
Exactly.
So I think this is a great idea.
Mhm.
I would move that we, what's the word I'm thinking of? The back taxes, not ignore them.
Authorize us to forgive.
Forgive. Authorize us to forgive the back taxes and fees due on the property, which are approximately $38,000.
Second.
It's
Oops.
second discussion? Yeah.
Sure.
So can we just be more explicit? So it's forgiving or not collecting 2015 and 2016.
Yeah.
Correct?
Sure.
So
Yep.
then the assumption is 2017, 2018,
Yeah,
at the
he's
new
paying
appraisal
going forward.
value.
Yeah, yeah,
we would
yes,
pay for it.
absolutely.
So I
Right.
just want to make that clear. I want to put the years in there and the exact amount
2014,
also.
15, and
So
16.
2014 and
14,
15.
Not the
So
present.
for 4
16.
years, we
Right.
haven't been collecting.
14, 15, 16.
When did
Oh,
you-
it's 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And when did the current owner purchase this?
2016.
2016.
Right, so it's really prior ownership.
Oh, yeah, it's prior.
It's prior
So it's not,
ownership.
yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
we're giving him a free ride at all.
No, no, no.
So can I
no.
ask, because we,
Sure.
looks like it changed the taxable value of the property from 461.9 to 154. Will it go back up?
It will
once it's
go back up,
remediated?
yes, oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my other question is, it just says that they've completed the first phase, and I just want to make sure by giving them this forgiveness that all phases are going to be completed.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
For the dirty site.
They'll be getting
remediation.
the, we would actually wait until we got the DEP sign off
Okay.
on this.
Okay, that's good. Excellent points. So we have the motion and, oh, you have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. I think it's a great tool in the toolbox. It's
Exactly right.
fabulous. Yeah.
A lot of people ask, what do you do for the businesses? And here's,
Sure.
here's a case where we do.
Sure, well, it's just, no one's gonna wanna buy a dirty business, you know, it's just a mess. So it's excellent. Plus, it's right downtown, right in the
Yeah.
middle of it.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it's
Reminds me of an
beautiful
old family property we had in East Boston.
Fabulous. Okay, so next, we have, that's it for 4. So moving on to 5, acceptance, expenditure, donations to the Council on Aging.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0. Donations to the library.
Move you accept the donations as noted in the packet?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Personnel appointments. Wakefield Republican Town Registrar of Voters, Peter Solomon.
I move that we accept Peter Solomon, my favorite Republican.
Yes.
One of my favorite Republicans, I should say.
Sherry, make sure you note that on Ann's comment.
I'll stand up for that.
Okay, any discussion on this? I think it's a wonderful idea, too.
He's a great guy.
And
Yeah,
he's
good
filling,
guy.
he's filling a
I'm
void,
sure he's watching this at home, too.
and he's a good person. We like you, Peter.
Gentle.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, 6-0 in favor. And I think we're down to Julie. Are you the warrant reviewing and signing
I did, I
person?
signed all
still?
these, nothing of particular interest to me.
Nothing you're hiding from the town?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So matters not anticipated by the chairperson within 48 hours of meeting. Start with Julie.
Not, enjoying the summer. I hope everybody's enjoying the summer. There's going to be some great activities coming up. Mid-August, a softball tournament for somebody that was a young person from our high school who was, unfortunately, life was ended too soon. And we're all looking forward to Festival Italia, Paul. So thank you.
Ann?
I do hope we can have Main Streets and FLOQ can have a calm conversation. I thought Mr. Conley presented in a very cordial and gracious manner. I appreciate what Bob Malhoit has done, but I don't think there's any harm in having a conversation to think about tweaking that particular site, even if it says Paul suggested moving it back a little bit. I also want to, and I know Tony's with me on this, send my love to the DeMella family in Wakefield. We had another terrible tragedy, losing a young father way too soon, leaving 3 boys under 17, one of whom, they're good friends of ours. And, we've seen some of Wakefield not at its best recently with a lot of social media and some of the kiosks, but Wakefield is, I believe, at its best when people are going through their worst situations, and I see that with the DeMellas, so just sending my love there.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Yeah, we're circling the wagons the whole Wakefield first. It's a great guy. Played basketball with him. Left-handed, would take the ball from me every frickin' time I took that ball down the court. Met with Doug Lyons last Monday. I'm the liaison to the school department. Talked about a few things, are we on equal footing for Chapter 70 funds? We talked about the FinCom communications and growing relationships with them. Talked about Greenwood renovations. We discussed the need for the new high school, some of the infrastructure, and some of the, the budget support that maybe we can get with him or through the state, and a lot of the mental health challenges that kids face in high school now that we never saw. So.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Irene, any comments?
Sure. So two things, and I was trying to find the schedule, but I can't. But last week, WCAT and the Savings Bank were the co-sponsors of a movie by the lake. We talked a lot about the lake today. There were over 500 people there. It was a beautiful event. Lots of kids enjoying it. I don't have the schedule, but it's online. It's so go to the next movie. I think they're every other week, but go. It's just a good Sunday night activity to do. And as someone who's always just trying to look forward, I will say that we had a successful voting at the Galvin. I'm going to talk about it. We had 11.7% people turnout, and there is 30 days left to register to vote for the primaries that we have coming up. So please register to vote and vote on September 4th at the Galvin Middle School.
Great. Paul?
I think it's Jaws.
Is it in 2 weeks?
And it's on the 26th. Just so that you know. I think it just celebrated its 47th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. 1975. How many years is that?
Yeah.
So I think it was 1975 it was out, but that's the next movie. Jaws. Jaws. Mr. Chair, I don't have anything to say at this moment.
Okay, mark that down, Sherry. That's the first time in 9.25 years. Mr. Mayo.
I'll take his time. A couple of very quick things. Number one, it was reported in the item last week, and I actually got a number of calls on this, got stopped at coffee shops and had people crazed, that the town of Wakefield sold 2 Auburn Street for $1. Now, I'm a much better negotiator than that. I mean, let's really call a spade here. What it was, in this case, there was people that owed back taxes on their property. The town goes out and they take a tax title. We file a tax title at the registry to protect the town's interest in the property. The family then was in a state situation. The family then came in and paid the back taxes on the property, over $18,000. When that happens, we file a document at the town, at the Registry of Deeds, called a instrument of redemption. For some reason, that was listed as the town selling the property for $1. I spoke to the editor of the item and asked him if he sees something like that again to please call me so I can explain that and save us all a little bit of heartache and questions on that. But for the record, that was a redemption of taxation, was not the sale of property. And that's probably the best thing we want anyway, is that the family makes it work. Couple quick other things. The other night, last weekend, after discussion with Dan McGrath, our rec director, and with town councilor Longo, as he is still sometimes wearing his recreation hat, we closed the lights at the Galvin courts. And we did that because the way that it's being treated is atrocious by whoever's using it. There are 5 trash barrels there, plus recycling stations there, and they just leave their stuff all over the court. So hopefully, I saw a lot of play on this, people saying that they're going to pick things up. Let's hope that happens, because it's a wonderful opportunity for people. I think that school was done very well, and you hate to send a message like that, but this had been ongoing with nothing stopping. So we did take that point. I apologize if that screwed up anybody's night, but that's why. Finally, some real good news. On August 11th, the Consul General of the Republic of Korea is going to honor and issue Ambassador for Peace medals to a number of Wakefield veterans. And I'll give you more information of this as it comes in. But let me read the names that I have, and some may ring a bell. Joseph Adragna, Robert Kavanaugh, James Chisholm, who is deceased, Alfred Confalone, Bob Curran, Richard de Garavilla, Francis Haggerty, Joseph Laconzolo, Joseph O'Keefe, Enrico Palmerino, Alan Riley, and Patsy Zagaria. So I think this is a great, wonderful for our veterans. I'll let you know more about it. It is a limited guest list, limited space for them, but they will be honored August 11th at the Flag Hall in the State House in Boston. So I think this is great for our veterans. So thought it was good to let that go. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent, thank you, Steve. So just to follow up on the very lively meeting tonight, I don't think the Roberts Rules was followed very well, and that's some of my fault, but I think that we did let the tremendous emotional windfall happen, and I think we did accomplish something, but really, over the next 3 weeks, in order to meet the deadline timeframe for that grant, please, all the groups that care about the kiosk, going in or not going in, work together towards Lake Ave and Church Street, or a better location, but it's going to go in, because we will not allow that grant not to be used. That would just be a horrible situation. So work together.
Would extend the former selectman the privilege of speaking again, and went around the table.
Well, yeah, Jim, we can't.
Can I make a comment?
Jim, we can't.
Two things I'd like to say.
Jim, we do love you, Jim, but you have 3 weeks to work with the tremendous group at FOLQ as well as the rest of the town.
I also would like to see the spirit of cooperation, but one other thing I'd like to speak about.
Mr. Chair.
Jim, we can't right now.
The quality of life and the character of the community is really threatened.
I understand.
And Foundry Street is gonna be a bunch of them, Toomey's was sold, and that's pretty important. I know you probably don't like me saying this, but this is true. The character community, the traffic is brutal.
Right.
It's not gonna get any better with all this relaxed atmosphere, and it's sort of a feeding frenzy going.
Jim, thanks. We have to close it out, though. No, I appreciate you coming back, and I appreciate you coming in tonight, too. You're really very helpful.
I'm just still tired.
My arms are tired from flying. Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
If
Sherry, how
let's
do
just
I
go
shut
ahead
this?
and-